When someone walks away, when someone you cared for deeply decides to take a step back, your first instinct is to chase. Your first instinct is to question, to beg, to convince, to hold on tighter as they let go. That's because your heart doesn't like unfinished stories. Your mind doesn't like unanswered questions. Feel like if you could just say the right thing, just explain one more time, just to show them your worth in one more way, they would stay. But the truth is, the more you chase, the further they run. The more you press, the more they pull away. And the only way, listen closely, the only way they will ever come back is not by convincing them, not by begging, not by proving yourself, but by doing the one thing they never expected you to do. Stop chasing. And here's what I want you to understand deeply and fully. It is not your job to convince someone to see your value. It is not your responsibility to stand in front of them with open hands, begging them to recognize the treasure you are. If they could not see it when you were giving your heart, they will see it only in your absence. People do not notice the air they breathe until it is gone. They do not realize the stability of a foundation until it cracks. They do not feel the warmth of the sun until a cloud hides it. That is exactly what happens when you stop chasing. You become the thing they suddenly can't stop noticing. The truth is, when someone walks away, they often do so with confidence. Confidence that you'll still be there, confidence that they can take their time, confidence that you'll wait. And at first, you might. At first, you might ache and wonder if they'll text, they'll call, if they'll even remember. But time has a way of showing who really matters. When they look back and realize that your world didn't crumble, that you didn't stay frozen in place, that you chose to rise instead of collapse, it plants a seed of doubt in their certainty. That seed grows every time they see you smiling again, every time they hear about your progress, every time they notice that you're no longer chasing after them like your life depends on it. That seed turns into a question: did I make a mistake? That question grows louder the longer you remain silent. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence in disguise. It forces reflection, forces them to sit with themselves and confront what life looks like without you. And when you stop giving them your words, your attention, your comfort, they are left with nothing but their own thoughts. That's when the memories come rushing back, the inside jokes, the late night conversations, the little details only you knew. Suddenly, those memories aren't just passing thoughts. They become reminders. Reminders of what they no longer have. Reminders of what they chose to walk away from. Reminders of the space you once filled so naturally. And here's the shift. When they feel that gap, they realize something powerful. They realize not everyone gives what you gave. They realize not everyone carries the same energy, the same presence, the same consistency. Because no matter how hard they try, no one else will match the way you loved, the way you showed up, the way you made them feel. That's when the comparisons start. That's when every new person they meet feels like a pale reflection, a shadow that doesn't measure up. That's when regret begins to take shape. But regret doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, like a storm forming on the horizon. At first, it's just a faint cloud. Then it darkens, expands, and suddenly it consumes their sky. They realize that the very thing they took for granted was the thing they can't replace. They realize that the very person they left behind is the one person who truly saw them, truly cared, truly stayed. And that realization doesn't just bring longing, it brings a pull, a magnetic force that draws them back, not because you begged, but because they finally see clearly what they were blind to before. But let's pause here for a moment, because there's something even more important than them coming back, and that's you. You see, the secret to making them return isn't waiting by the door with your hands folded in hope. The secret is walking through that door yourself, out into the world, into your own life, and building something so rich, so fulfilling, so strong that their return doesn't feel like salvation. It feels like an option. That's the difference. When you build yourself in their absence, when you choose to grow instead of shrink, when you choose to thrive instead of wither, you no longer need them to validate you. And ironically, that's the exact energy that makes them want to return. because nothing is more attractive than someone who knows their worth. Nothing is more magnetic than someone who is whole within themselves. Nothing draws people in more than the quiet confidence of a person who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't cling, but simply lives with fullness. That's the energy they remember. That's the energy they can't let go of. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop focusing on, how do I make them come back, and instead focus on, how do I become the best version of myself, is the moment the answer takes care of itself. Because when they see you rising, when they see you shining, when they see that you have built a life so rich that their absence didn't destroy you, it forces them to see you in a new light. You become the one who got away, the one they can't replace, the one who slips into their thoughts when they least expect it. And that is the power of letting go. They will come back. They will reach out. They will test the waters, maybe with a simple text, maybe with a casual call, maybe with some excuse to reconnect. But when that moment comes, won't be the same person they left behind. You'll be stronger, wiser, more grounded. And that's where the real choice lies. Because the question won't be, will they come back anymore? The question will be, do I still want this? Think about that. Imagine the strength of standing in that moment, knowing that the person you once thought you couldn't live without has returned, and realizing you're no longer desperate for them, realizing that your life is full, your heart is whole, your spirit is strong. That is power. That is healing. That is growth. But none of it happens if you chase. None of it happens if you beg. None of it happens if you cling to someone who walked away. It happens when you turn inward, when you rebuild, when you stop pouring into someone else's cup and start pouring into your own. It happens when you stop proving and start living. That is the path that leads them back, not because you pulled them, but because your strength pulled them in ways they couldn't ignore. So when you find yourself wanting to send that long message, wanting to call just one more time, wanting to remind them of everything you shared, pause, breathe. Remember that silence carries more weight than words right now. Remember that distance speaks louder than closeness when it's one-sided. Remember that stepping back is not weakness, it's strength. Because it takes courage to let go. It takes courage to trust that if they truly belong in your life, they'll find their way back without you dragging them there. And they'll feel the distance like a shadow following them. They'll wonder why you're not reaching out anymore. They'll scroll through old conversations late at night. They'll remember the way you cared, the way you listened, the way you showed up. And in that remembering, they'll feel the ache of what they lost. That ache will drive them back, slowly at first, cautiously, then more urgently as they realize the truth. They can't replace you. They can't forget you. They can't live as easily without you as they thought they could. That's why I say if you want them to come back, don't do more. Do less. Don't chase. Step back. Don't beg. Live. Don't prove. Become. Because your growth, your silence, your strength, that is what calls them home. And every time you think about reaching out, every time you feel that urge rising in your chest to grab your phone and type out a message, I want you to stop and ask yourself one simple question. Who am I doing this for? Am I doing this because I value myself, or am I doing this because I am afraid of losing someone who already let go of me? That question matters because fear-driven actions never pull someone closer. Fear only pushes them further away. Desperation is loud. It makes people uncomfortable. It makes them want to retreat even more. But strength, silence, composure, those things whisper, and those whispers echo in someone's mind far longer than any desperate plea ever will. Think about the last time someone stepped back from you, the last time someone you thought would stay disappeared without warning. What did it do to you? It made you think. It made you wonder why. It made you curious, didn't it? That's exactly what happens when you stop chasing. You flip the script. You create curiosity. Create space for them to wonder what's happening in your world. And curiosity is one of the strongest motivators. When they don't know what you're doing, who you're with, how you're feeling, they will start to fill in the blanks themselves. And 9 times out of 10, Those blanks don't make them feel secure. They make them restless. That restlessness becomes the spark that ignites their need to come back. But here's the piece most people don't understand. This isn't just about sitting still and waiting. It's not about playing silent while you secretly live in misery. It's about replacing the energy you used to give to them and redirecting it toward yourself. Because when you chase your own growth, your own joy, your own peace, that energy radiates. It shows in the way you walk into a room. It shows in the way you laugh. It shows in the way you glow when you're living for yourself again. That glow is what draws them back. Not silence alone, but silence paired with transformation. Silence paired with strength. Silence paired with you finally remembering that your life was never meant to revolve around someone else in the first place. You've probably heard people say, if it's meant to be, it will be. And while that sounds cliché, there's truth in it. But the deeper truth is this: if it's meant to be, it won't require you to beg. It won't require you to lose yourself. It won't require you to sacrifice your dignity. It will flow because it's real, and the way you test what's real is by letting go. If they come back, it's because there was something genuine. If they don't, then their absence made space for something better. Either way, you win. That's the beauty of this. When you stop chasing, you stop losing, because you're no longer running after someone who doesn't see your value. You're walking steadily toward the life you deserve. And I know, it feels impossible sometimes. It feels like the silence is unbearable, like the waiting is heavy, like the uncertainty is crushing you. But that's because you've trained yourself to look outward instead of inward. You've spent so much time focusing on their responses, their moods, their presence, that you've forgotten how powerful it is to focus on yourself. Shift that focus. Replace the urge to check their social media with the urge to build something new for yourself. Replace the thought of calling them with the action of calling a friend who actually cares. Replace the energy of what are they doing without me with what can I do for me right now? That's the switch that changes everything. And do not underestimate the power of time. Time is the ultimate revealer. Time exposes who truly cares. Time exposes who was temporary. Time exposes the difference between convenience and commitment. The longer you hold your silence, the louder it becomes in their world. At first, they might not notice. At first, they might even feel relieved. But give it weeks, give it months, and that relief will turn into a gnawing emptiness. Because people always return to the well that gave them the purest water, and you were that well. The deeper your silence, the stronger their thirst becomes. And eventually they will come back looking for a sip of what only you could give. But here's the question that I want you to keep at the center of your heart. When they do come back, what version of you will they find? Will they find the same person they left, waiting, broken, desperate for any scrap of attention? Or will they find a stronger version of you, whole, independent, glowing in your own light? Because that's the version that makes them stay. That's the version that commands respect. That's the version that not only draws them back, but keeps the balance once they return. This is why your focus cannot be on their return. It must be on your rise. Because the irony is, the higher you rise, the faster they return. And the higher you rise, the less you even need their return. That's the paradox. The moment you no longer need them is the moment they can't stop needing you. And when that moment comes, you'll realize something powerful. You hold the choice. They may come back knocking, but you get to decide whether to open the door. And that choice will be rooted in your growth, your peace, your strength. Every time you feel weak, every time you feel like reaching out, remind yourself, strength in silence is not about punishment. It's about preservation. You are not punishing them by pulling back. You are preserving yourself. You are choosing to protect your heart, your energy, your dignity. You are choosing to stop giving endlessly to someone who didn't value it when they had it. And that choice, that discipline, is what eventually brings them back to their senses, because they will realize what they lost. They will realize they had someone rare, someone irreplaceable. And that realization will bring them back in ways you couldn't have forced with 1,000 texts. They will remember the way you listened when no one else did. They will remember the way you supported them when they felt like no one cared. They will remember the way you made them laugh, the way you made them feel seen, the way you stood by them when things were hard. Those memories don't fade, they echo. And when life gets quiet for them, when they lay their head down at night, when the world slows down, those echoes will get louder. And those echoes will lead them right back to you. But here's what makes it even more powerful. You won't be waiting in the same spot. You'll be moving, growing, building. And when they return, they'll have to meet you where you are now, not where you were when they left. That's the gift of this process. You grow while they wander, you build while they doubt, you heal while they search. And by the time they come back, you are so much stronger than the person they walked away from. They will come back, not because you begged, not because you chased, but because your absence spoke louder than your words, because your strength outshined their doubts, because your growth turned their certainty into regret. That is how it happens, quietly, slowly, inevitably. And when you finally see that call, that text, that knock at the door, you'll know something they don't. They thought they were coming back to the same version of you, but they aren't. They're coming back to someone wiser, someone stronger, someone who no longer needs them, but might still choose them. And that difference is everything.